to the deep dive, where we take the fire hose of information you've sent us and distill it into strategic, actionable clarity. And if you're part of a small, fast-moving team right now, you know that feeling, the information overload. It's not just an inconvenience, is it? It feels like an operational crisis.
It really does.
We're talking about that daily reality where you're constantly juggling too many tasks and way too many decisions land on your plate that need immediate approval.
And all that context switching just leaves you drained.
Completely drained. And crucially, with zero time for the focused strategic thinking that, actually moves the needle.
That intense pressure, it just cooks small teams from the inside. They often feel like they're losing the race, and it's not because of a lack of talent or a bad product. It's because they lack the structural support systems that bigger companies just take for granted.
Right. And today, we're unpacking a concept that seems to solve this head-on. The AI operator mindset.
Exactly.
This idea, which we've seen defined in sources from people like J.D. Parashar, the founder of ReThynk AI, isn't about buying new tech. It's more of a fundamental shift in philosophy.
It is.
And I think we need to unpack the core distinction right away, because it's really the mission statement of this entire deep dive.
Okay, so the central argument is this. Small teams stay overloaded because they use AI like a tool instead of treating it like an operating layer.
Okay, let's drill into that.
Yeah.
A tool. When you use AI as a tool, you open a chat box, you ask a question, you get an answer, you close it.
Right. It's personalized, it's sporadic, and it's temporary.
But when you treat it as an operating layer, what changes? What does that actually look like?
Well, you stop asking AI what it thinks about X, and you start designing systems for AI to do Y reliably and repeatedly. The AI operator is a mindset, it's not a job title, where you design workflows that specifically offload that repetitive cognitive burden onto the machine.
So it allows the human team to stop drafting and start deciding.
That's the shift. That's the whole game right there.
That's a powerful shift. The goal then is speed and focus. You move faster because AI handles the routine stuff, and you avoid that organizational messiness that comes from everyone on the team using AI differently or just randomly.
Exactly. Look, if you're a small team, you need leverage above all else. And that leverage, it comes from structure, not from spontaneity.
So let's look closer at the struggle this is meant to solve.
Yeah.
We identified those 4 overload killers. Why are these 4 tasks, decisions, context switching, and no thinking time, why are they so uniquely crippling for small teams?
It's because small teams don't have layers of management or, specialized departments. When one person is constantly bombarded with too many tasks, it's not just their output that slows down.
It's the whole pipeline.
The entire pipeline. That person holds critical knowledge and often the approval power.
And the context switching is just brutal. I mean, if you're constantly jumping from reviewing a proposal to answering a customer service email to drafting some internal report, your cognitive capacity just gets burned up in the transitions.
And you never get that moment for deep, productive thought.
Which is precisely where innovation and strategy live.
Right. And the difference between the surface-level AI user and the structural thinker is stark.
Right.
The tool user, they use AI to write a quick email, sure.
Okay.
But they still have to manually collect all the background info, choose the right tone, decide on the call to action, and then review the whole thing. They're just using AI for a little composition help inside an already chaotic process.
But the AI operator is different. They look at that same chaotic process and they say, how do I build a predictable framework around this so that when a human needs to hit send, like 90% of the decision-making context is already there.
That's the structural thinking. It's functional. They stop relying on random chat prompts and start using AI operationally. They embed it into defined, structured, repeatable workflows. That is the only way to really overcome that crippling overload.
Okay, that makes the why crystal clear. But, and this is the big question, for a small team that is already drowning, setting up new structured workflows sounds like, well, it sounds like more work up front.
It does, and that's the hurdle.
So how do they actually execute this shift? The source material outlines 3 really concrete behaviors that define a successful AI operator team.
This is where we move from theory to action. It's all about consistency. We have to replace that personalized random usage with something that's more enterprise-grade, predictable.
Let's start with the first behavior then, running work through workflows, not chats.
This is the critical habit change. If your team is constantly going back to that blank chat window, trying different prompts every time, you're just introducing inconsistency.
You get different quality, different tones.
Different levels of structure every single time. It's a mess.
The operator team flips this. They identify repetitive tasks, things they do, say, at least once a week, and they build a standardized pattern around them. This is where we get into those specific practical examples.
Yeah, think about customer reply workflows. Instead of having 5 different people using 5 different versions of ChatGPT to respond to a billing question.
Which they will all do slightly differently.
Of course. The operator team has a dedicated, standardized workflow. It processes the inquiry and drafts a response using pre-approved compliance and tone rules. The human just reviews and approves.
Or something internal, like a hiring shortlist workflow. The friction that removes must be immense.
It is. Instead of a person spending hours manually cross-referencing keywords and filtering hundreds of applications, the structured AI layer applies the screening criteria before a human even sees the top candidates.
A content workflow for marketing or a proposal workflow for sales documents.
Oh, yeah.
I can see how these would be non-negotiable for small teams.
The moment you standardize this, the immediate outcome is consistent, high-quality output across the entire team. Instantly. And small teams, they just can't afford to send out off-brand or inconsistent material. It's too risky.
So if the workflow solves the repetition problem, the next challenge is making sure that repeatable output is always high quality. Which brings us perfectly to the second defining behavior, standardizing what good looks like.
This is probably the most crucial governance step. AI is a fantastic engine, but it needs explicit rails to run on. If you just tell the AI, write a great blog post, you'll get 10 different versions of great.
And maybe none of them align with your brand voice or legal requirements.
Exactly. So the operator team doesn't just prompt the AI, they prompt the AI with governance.
Okay, so what are the necessary standards? What needs to be explicitly defined to make the AI predictable?
It starts with the basics. Clear tone rules, a strict brand voice guideline. If your brand is professional and concise, the workflow has to enforce that, no matter who presses the button.
But it goes deeper into governance, right? You need explicit decision rules, approval rules.
And this one is key. You need what we never do rules.
Wait, what we never do rules? That sounds complicated. For a team that's already overloaded, defining strict negative constraints sounds like a big administrative lift.
It's an upfront investment, but it's preventative. Defining what we never do, like, for example, never discuss pricing specifics in a customer service draft, or never use jargon X, Y, or Z in external content. It prevents costly mistakes.
And rework.
And a ton of rework down the line. It's quality control that's institutionalized before the AI even drafts the response. You're teaching the system your values and your constraints, not just your topic.
That explicit clarity is what frees up the human brain. If the AI is locked into quality, the human doesn't have to check the basics every single time.
Right.
Which leads us seamlessly to the third behavior, which is about maintaining that strategic human focus, keeping humans accountable.
Yes. This step clearly and cleanly divides the labor. We have to be honest about what AI is good at. AI is suited for the heavy lifting of composition drafting, suggesting, summarizing long text, structuring raw information into a usable format. It does the grunt work.
But the human role remains non-negotiable, and it's focused on those strategic, higher-level functions. The source material is very clear, but the 4 non-negotiable human responsibilities.
The human must approve the final output. You must decide on the strategic direction. You have to own the outcomes. There's no passing the buck to the algorithm.
And this one feels more important than ever.
Oh, absolutely. The human must protect customer trust and privacy. That cannot be delegated.
And this whole delineation, this is what prevents the biggest risk facing small teams adopting AI.
Which is the creation of an AI did it culture.
AI did it. Yeah. If something goes wrong, if a proposal uses the wrong figures or a customer response violates policy, you can't just blame the machine.
No, because if a team allows responsibility for failure to shift to some external, non-human entity, your organizational coherence and trust just collapses instantly.
So the operator mindset ensures that since AI handled the drafting, the human is now fully accountable for the approval and the decision.
Which is where the strategic value of the business truly lives anyway.
Okay, so we've established the problem is overload, and the solution is structured workflows with explicit standards. Let's talk about the strategic payoff. Why does this mindset level the playing field for small businesses?
It really comes down to leverage. A Fortune 500 company can hire 50 specialist prompt engineers to manually optimize every little aspect of their AI usage.
A small team can't do that.
Not a chance. They need a structural solution that gives them results without the massive overhead.
So the AI operator mindset, it sort of democratizes the benefit of advanced AI by forcing standardization.
That's a great way to put it. It's the difference between trying to code a website by writing individual HTML files versus using a structured content management system. One scales predictability, the other.
Scales chaos.
Exactly. And the specific measurable business advantages are tangible. They're felt almost immediately. Small teams that adopt this approach, they see more output with the same headcount.
And significantly less rework, I imagine, because those standardized rules prevent the quality swings.
Much less rework and much faster response times across the board.
It also has to lead to clearer communication, right? Because the tone and brand voice are locked in by the workflow. It all just results in smoother overall operations.
It does. This isn't just about speed. It's about operational stability, which is something small teams so often lack.
And here's the key mechanism, I think. These benefits are achieved not by adding complexity, not by buying 10 new tools or hiring a prompt specialist, but by fundamentally removing friction from your existing processes.
Yes, that's the core of it.
If you visualize that friction, it's the marketing team stop bugging the data team for standardized monthly reports because the reporting workflow handles it.
Or the CEO stops worrying about off-brand messaging because the content workflow enforces the brand rules.
Precisely. Friction removed is equivalent to time and energy recovered.
It absolutely is.
That sounds fantastic, but we have to be pragmatic. For a small, already overloaded team, stopping everything to rebuild their entire operational structure is, well, it's a recipe for failure. They need a starting point that requires minimal inertia.
And this is the simplest, most practical piece of advice from the material. It's the antidote to adoption paralysis. It boils down to one simple rule.
Don't start with 10 use cases.
No.
Start with one workflow.
And assign one owner for that single workflow.
And focus on one measurable outcome.
That's it. If you try to bolt AI onto every part of the business at once, you just guarantee chaos. Instead, you pick one specific pain point, say, reducing the time spent drafting internal meeting summaries.
Or speeding up customer service acknowledgement replies. Something small and contained.
Exactly. Prove the concept in that one focused area.
And if the team sees the draft time reduced by, say, 50%, or the customer response time drops dramatically, that structural proof is undeniable.
It becomes undeniable, and that drives natural adoption because the rest of the team sees the immediate practical leverage of having this structured AI layer.
So that structural proof, it fundamentally redefines what proficiency even means. It's no longer about who can write the best, most magical prompt in a random chat window.
No, it's about who can design the clearest, most reliable system for the AI to execute reliably across the entire organization.
What a clear path forward. We started by acknowledging that intense, crippling overload that plagues small teams. Too many tasks, too much switching, and we've ended with a clear mandate.
A very clear one.
Stop using AI like a sporadic tool and start adopting it as a structural operating philosophy.
The real lesson here, and I think the ultimate strategic insight from this material, is that the leverage isn't about the specific tools you use or which large language model you prefer. The real AI divide in companies is purely about organizational clarity.
Clarity and the existence of explicit standards.
That's it.
So here is the final provocative thought for you to carry forward. The ultimate strategic leverage in AI adoption comes not from iterating your prompts or waiting for the next software feature release, but from defining explicitly and measurably what good looks like for your business before you ever press go.
Define your clarity, then let the system run.
And take that explicit clarity back to your team. Define your one workflow and watch the friction disappear.
That's the way to start.
That's it for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.